I just want to let you know that I just met Kelsey's boyfriend over there, and I think he thinks she's pretty cosmic too, so he was pretty happy with that story. Most moms would tell you that being pregnant in the summer is pretty terrible. This mom will tell you that being pregnant in the summer in the city is the worst. Everywhere you go, people are drinking. Everyone here is drinking all of the time as soon as the weather gets nice. Now, I live next to American Sardine Bar. I have to walk past it to get to my son's daycare. So pregnant, waddling, walking to get my son, everyone's drinking, relaxing, no cares in the world. I walk back, I feel like a swollen, sweaty troll as they just still sit there. I hated every single one at that bar, but there was someone I hated more. Every time I turned the corner, there would be my neighbor, sitting there having a beer and cigarette, looking like he had no responsibilities. Now, I kept my mouth shut for a couple of weeks, but eventually my third trimester angry brain could no longer contain it. I walked by him and I said, "Fuck you." When I'm not pregnant, you owe me a beer and a cigarette. Now, I have never spoken to this person before in my life. Never. And I also don't smoke. He was very gracious. He laughed a little nervously and said that of course he would. And this became a routine. Every day I'd pass him and I'd give him a hard time. I'd either yell at him or I'd say something like, "Oh, look at you, Mr. No Responsibility, just sitting there." Or if my son was throwing a tantrum, I'd be like, "Aren't I making this parenting thing look easy?" So this goes on for a while, and eventually, which felt like eternity, I gave birth to my second son. Now I was pushing a double stroller past the bar and sometimes into the bar. But I was no longer running into my neighbor. About a couple months later, I actually find out that I'm getting divorced. My mom comes down to comfort me, and she's trying to insist that I go to my brother's 24th birthday party. He lives around the corner, and she's trying to say, "Have fun, go out and have some fun." Well, the last thing I wanted to do was to be surrounded by 20-somethings, because my husband had been surrounded by 20-somethings, and that was the reason we were getting divorced. But after a lot of nagging, which moms can do, I put on my big girl pants, and I put on some really good waterproof mascara, and I go to the party. I'm actually having a lot of fun, but after the second glass of wine, I become that person in a sitcom where I'm like, "Oh, wait till life punches you in the face." Or, "Oh, you're engaged? That's great. I bet it lasts 5 years." Yeah. So, after seeing one or too many crop tops, I decided it was time to leave. Also, my brother told me to get the fuck out. So me and my mom, we leave the bar, we turn the corner, and who is sitting on his steps with two people but my neighbor? Out there having a beer and cigarette. Well, I scream, "You owe me a beer and a cigarette," way too aggressively. They look a little scared as I cross the street, but he was very kind. He gave me a cigarette. I immediately coughed up a lung and gave it back to him. He gave me a beer, and we start talking. Well, I start talking nonstop for probably about an hour. When I finally stopped talking, I realized that he was flirting with me. And after a couple minutes, I realized I was flirting with him. Now, it had been 10 years since I had really flirted with someone. I had flirted with people at the bar, being a wing woman, but this is the first time I'd flirted with someone where something else could happen. We take the party inside, and in the light, I realize that he's also really cute. And then my mom leans over, and she's like, "He's really cute." I was like, "Mom, play it cool, play it cool." But after a couple minutes, I decided that I wasn't going to play it cool. I was going to have my "how Stella got her groove back" moment. He didn't know this yet. So after I decide that, my mom is talking to his sister, and I'm like, "Hey, do you have a roof deck?" Now, we live across the street from each other, and we have the exact same house. So he knew that I knew that he knew that I knew he had a roof deck. He smiles and he goes, "Yeah, do you want to see it?" And I was like, game on. So we walk up the wooden staircase to the roof deck. He turns the knob to let us in, and it snaps. It breaks. The door won't open, which basically sums up my entire 2016 with all the stupid shit that happened. But I was determined. I was not going to let this one go. I was going to have it the way I want it that night. In more ways than one. In more ways than one. So I turned to him and I started to take off. Now, wait a minute, people. This is being recorded and I'm also a mom, but I can tell you two things from that night. One, the neighbor is sitting right there. And I can tell you, it wasn't my knees that were sore the next day. Thank you very much.